knowing that their scoring margin is 10.7 and they're only laying 7.5, would you feel comfortable doing that without knowing who's under center at this point for the Baltimore Ravens?
These two division rivals playing in the wild card round. I don't know if I want to mess with it, especially right now, not knowing who's going to be on the center for the Baltimore
Yeah.
Ravens. I'll just go ahead and start with that. I think it's going to be a competitive game. The one thing that concerns me about the Bengals is the Alex Kappa injury compounded with losing Leo Collins like a couple weeks ago. It doesn't look
Mm-hmm.
like Kappa's going to be able to play. And so
No.
the one weakness of the Cincinnati Bengals from the very start of the season was the offensive line. And so now you're losing two key cogs this late in the season. It may not come back to bite them against the Baltimore Ravens, but I think at some point in the postseason it will. But let's just focus on this game. So if the Ravens don't have Lamar, I really don't think they have a chance to win. I know understand that they rested some players. Like Mark Andrews had himself a game with Lamar in the first matchup. Had like two touchdowns, like almost double digit catches, 89 yards or something like that. And so he had himself a game. Lamar was just okay, but I think whenever you have Lamar, it just puts so much stress on the defense that it just allows your offense to function a little bit differently. I don't think Tyler Huntley can do that. And obviously,
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Brown's not going to be able to do that, even though Anthony Brown threw for 286 passing yards against the Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins didn't play in the first matchup. And so everything to me just points to somehow, some way, the Bengals just getting by in this one. But because of the injury concerns on both teams and just the uncertainty that we have right now, I wouldn't be willing to lay anything on this game right now. But I'm pretty confident
Hmm.
that somehow, some way, the Cincinnati Bengals move on to the next round, and then I think we'll have a deeper conversation about how that particular matchup ends up looking.
To be Yeah, to be honest with you, I kind of like the Bengals laying the points here. They just beat the Ravens by 2 possessions. They're also 7-1 against the spread during their 8-game winning streak. And the Ravens are 2-6 ATS in their last 8 games against the division. They haven't covered the spread in 5 of their last 8 games. And without knowing who's under center, and with the way that the Bengals are hungry, with the way that your not so average Joe Burrow has been playing, I kind of like the Bengals laying the points at home. Jared, how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, they closed as an 11-point favorite on Sunday with Anthony Brown and Peters was out, Andrews was out. I think one of their offensive linemen also sat. So it was a very
Mm-hmm.
mail it in type game. So looking at the line now, and I'm starting to see some 7.5s pop up in the market. So
Mm.
that line's kind of trending back towards no Lamar, likely Huntley, and I think if it
Yeah.
goes to Brown, then it probably gets back to the 10 range in that vicinity to what we saw over the weekend. So again, we're kind of half baked right now with the Lamar Jackson news into the market. And I think at 7.5 up to 8.5, this is the best spot to tease this week. And the teasers in the
Mm.
wild card round and the divisional round, especially because you get a little more volatility, but or a little less volatility because the teams are all really good, so they play a little more true to their number. But teasers in the playoffs tend to be a pretty decent bet if you find the right spots. And now that we're kind of looking at Buffalo and getting that up to over 10 and Cincinnati 7.5, I would say a Cincinnati -1.5, Buffalo -6 teaser might be my teaser of the week there. And I know we'll do that a little later, but I think I might have just gave it away there. Because I think that's a pretty decent teaser spot, to be honest with you. Now that we're at that number with Buffalo, we can get it to under 7. But I think when you look at Joe Burrow, so first 8 games of the year, sacked 3.5 times per game. They were 4-4. Last 8
Yeah.
games, sacked just 1.5 times per game, and they are 8-0. Strong correlation there. And we don't know, but a lot of those games were played with Collins and Kappa both healthy. You're right, Tank. The entire right side of the offensive line now is out. It might not affect them in this game because the Ravens don't blitz a ton and they're not a high blitz rate team. They're not a high pressure rate team. They kind of get it done with their front four. In fact, their best Pro Football Focus pass rush
Pass
rush
rush.
grade. Oh my God. They're all non-edge rushers. Patrick Queen, Calais Campbell
Yeah.
are, and their secondary have the best
Mhm.
PFF grades for pass rushers this year. So they're not an edge rushing team per se. So I don't know if the Collins injury is going to have as big of an impact in this game as it might the following weeks against Cincinnati and Buffalo, although Buffalo lost Von Miller, so they're a little bit hampered in that regard as well. The only chance the Ravens really have in this game is just to do what they normally do in true Baltimore fashion, just play lights out defensively and figure out a way to steal a couple possessions and keep this game close. But I don't know. I don't have a very strong feeling for Baltimore here. The numbers without Lamar Jackson offensively have been absolutely awful. And Lou Anarumo is one of the best schemers in the NFL. We talked about it the week after they faced the Bucs. They were down 17 points. They went in at halftime, and they didn't let Tom Brady cross midfield in the third quarter. So I think that's kind of the vibe for me here. Bengals tease it down. You want to lay the 7. That's fair too. But I think the lowest total on the board, teasing that number down through both key numbers, I think value-wise, that's the best angle in this game for Cincinnati.